Everyone said the B-21 Raider was dead on arrival, a $75 billion failure, another Pentagon money pit. December 2nd, 2022, the first B-21 rolled out of Palmdale. What happened next violated everything we thought we knew about defense spending. This bomber was losing money, not taxpayer money, Northrop Grumman's money. $2 billion vanished from their accounts while the Air Force saved $5.3 billion. The Pentagon had pulled off something impossible, shifting financial risk entirely to the contractor. The classified documents tell a different story than the headlines. Facts that explain why China accelerated their bomber program, why Congress secretly injected another $4.5 billion into a failed program, and why a U.S. ally formally requested to purchase their own fleet, something that's never happened with American strategic bombers. What you're about to see isn't just about one bomber. It's about the last manned bomber America will ever build, and the first one other nations might fly. The financial architecture of the B-21 operates backwards from every bomber before it. While public criticism focuses on a $75 billion program cost, the actual mechanisms reveal deliberate misdirection. Northrop Grumman absorbed $2 billion in losses through 2024. A single charge of $477 million hit their books to cover manufacturing overruns. The company bears every dollar above predetermined thresholds. The 2016 GAO protest exposed the strategy. Boeing challenged the contract award, forcing disclosure of bid details. Northrop's proposal came in so low, it created what GAO termed a near-insurmountable obstacle for competitors. The company deliberately underbid, knowing they'd lose money. The Air Force achieved something unprecedented. Procurement costs dropped 28% below estimates for fiscal year 2025. The service saved $5.3 billion on the first 5 production lots alone. This fixed-price structure emerged from the B-2's catastrophe. That program's costs exploded to over $2.1 billion per unit. The overruns fell entirely on taxpayers. The B-21 contract inverts this relationship. Northrop carries all risk beyond negotiated ceilings. If the program fails, Northrop bleeds. If it succeeds at 100-plus aircraft, they eventually profit. Air Force generals face uncomfortable arithmetic. War plans require 210 mission-capable bombers for Pacific operations. The B-21 program builds 100. The math doesn't work. Distance drives requirements. Guam to Beijing spans 2,500 miles. Missouri to Taiwan covers 7,500 miles. Round trips exceed 24 hours. Crew rest regulations mandate 36-hour minimums between missions. One bomber generates one sortie every 2 days in Pacific scenarios. Sustained operations require 3 aircraft per target set. One flying, one recovering, one preparing. The multiplication destroys planning assumptions. China presents 30,000 aim points across mainland targets. Each target requires multiple strikes for destruction. The bombers available can't service the target list. Congressional analysis revealed the shortage. Classified briefings outlined the gap. The response came as $4.5 billion in additional funding, not for more bombers initially, but for production acceleration. The Air Force proposed radical solutions. A second production line at Palmdale, increased production rates from 5 to 8 aircraft annually. Nothing closes the mathematical gap entirely. Northrop Grumman's Palmdale facility can produce 5 B-21s annually at current capacity. The math reveals a problem. 100 aircraft takes 20 years. China's bomber program accelerates faster. Internal Air Force documents reference production enhancement initiatives. Congress allocated $2.8 billion for manufacturing capability expansion. The funding doesn't match single-line improvements. Satellite imagery of Palmdale shows new construction, additional hangars under development, expanded secure areas, infrastructure suggesting doubled capacity. The second line serves multiple purposes beyond speed. It provides redundancy against attack or accident. It enables parallel production of different variants. It demonstrates industrial commitment that deters adversaries. Union contracts at Palmdale include provisions for second and third shift expansions. Training programs expanded to triple their previous capacity. The Air Force won't confirm the second line publicly, but procurement contracts include options for 15 aircraft annually by 2028. That rate requires multiple production lines. The evidence points to undisclosed expansion. Before metal was cut, before tools touched materials, the B-21 flew thousands of hours. It existed entirely in silicon, tested in virtual reality chambers that replicated every rivet, wire, and surface. Digital engineering transformed the program timeline. Traditional development requires sequential phases: design, prototype, test, refine, produce. The B-21 collapsed these phases. Engineers worldwide collaborated on a single model. Changes in one system immediately propagated through the design. Software developers tested code against hardware that existed only digitally. The virtual bomber underwent combat scenarios impossible to replicate physically. It penetrated simulated Chinese air defenses. It evaded Russian radar networks. When the first physical B-21 flew, pilots found it handled better than simulations predicted. The digital twin had been conservative. Reality exceeded the model. The Air Force declared the approach would become mandatory for future programs. Digital engineering compresses development by 5 years. It eliminates billions in prototype costs. The B-21 test aircraft rolling off Palmdale's production line aren't prototypes. They're combat aircraft temporarily assigned to testing. Mission systems already installed. Weapons bays fully functional. Traditional programs build dedicated test aircraft. Specialized airframes that never see combat. Billions spent on planes that only gather data. Every B-21 test aircraft will eventually join operational squadrons. The same manufacturing processes that build test planes build combat planes. The same tooling, the same technicians. This approach accelerates deployment by years. When testing completes, conversion to combat configuration requires minimal modification. The aircraft already carry operational systems. The second B-21 now flying focuses on weapons integration. It's dropping ordnance over test ranges. But it's not a prototype. It's aircraft number 2 of an eventual 100-plus fleet. Cost savings cascade through the program. No separate prototype line. No specialized test configuration. Every dollar spent on testing produces a combat aircraft. Australian defense officials formally requested B-21 participation, not basing rights or cooperation. They want to buy their own bombers. The request reflects regional dynamics. China's expansion threatens Australian interests. Maritime approaches need protection. Continental defense requires strategic depth. B-21s from Australian bases could reach the South China Sea in hours. They could strike targets across the Indo-Pacific. They provide deterrence Australia currently lacks. But export involves unprecedented complications. Stealth technology remains protected. Nuclear capability raises treaty issues. Congress must approve any foreign sales. The administration considers limited export options, reduced capability variants, American-controlled weapons, maintenance dependencies ensuring compliance. Australia's request signals allied recognition of strategic shifts. Middle powers seek independent deterrence. The B-21 represents capability they judge essential for sovereignty. Take a moment and don't forget to like and subscribe. Activate the bell icon so you don't miss our next Jets news. The B-21 Raider represents something beyond another weapons system. It embodies a fundamental reorganization of American strategic power, the financial architecture that makes contractors bear risk, the digital engineering that collapses development time. Every classified revelation points toward a single truth. The Pentagon learned from 40 years of acquisition failures. They built a bomber that's affordable enough to buy in numbers, maintainable enough to fly regularly, and adaptable enough to remain relevant. The $75 billion failure narrative serves its purpose. It deflects scrutiny while production accelerates. It masks capability while adversaries scramble. The real question isn't whether the B-21 succeeds. It's whether 100 aircraft can deter wars across multiple theaters simultaneously. Mathematics suggests they can't. Strategic reality demands they must. The last manned bomber America builds might also be the last bomber that matters. Not because unmanned systems replace it, but because its existence prevents the conflicts that would require its use. That paradox defines 21st century deterrence.